Hi, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Haley. And this is Two Kids and a Broadway Star. Our guest today is Lesli Margherita.
Queen Leslie, Queen Leslie, Queen Leslie.
Her Majesty herself.
Leslie made her Broadway debut as Mrs. Wormwood in Matilda the Musical, a show that's very close to our hearts.
And after that, she took the stage in Dames at Sea, playing Mona Kent, a, quote, tyrannical vamp with infectious relish.
She was everyone's favorite princess in Emojiland, everyone's favorite Cindy Lou Who in Who's Holiday, and the creator of 2 Broadway.com vlogs, a digital short series, 2 books, 2 solo shows, and the album Rule Your Kingdom.
But before she did all that, she won an Olivier Award for her West End debut as Inez in Zorro the Musical, no biggie.
We've seen her on stage, we've seen her on TV, we've seen her at BroadwayCon, and now we're so excited to see her on our own screen. Lesli Margherita, welcome to Two Kids and a Broadway Star.
Woo-hoo! So happy to be here. So happy, finally, to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being on our show.
I know, you're so cool.
No, you guys are way cooler. You're way cooler.
Oh.
So no, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start at the very beginning, which is a very good place to start.
It is a very good place to start. Mm-hmm.
How did you get started in theater? And I guess I'm even more curious on how you found your place as this big, fun voice on stage.
I started doing theater probably when I was younger than you guys. I started dancing when I was 5, and then I started doing theater when I was about 8. And I just did a community theater production of Oliver. I was one of the boys, and I didn't actually know that I could sing. My dance teacher was choreographing it, and so she said, just show up, sing happy birthday. And I had this giant voice. I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. Didn't really think much of it. And then there was a production of Annie, like a professional touring production of Annie that was coming through town. And I made my dad go get the application to audition. And my parents and family were like, you did that one musical, you kind of sing, we don't really know. And I was like, it's fine. We're going to get it. It's fine. Yeah. And I think I was 8.5 or 9, maybe. And I ended up getting it. For some reason, I was one of the orphans. And I then just started doing musicals all the time, community theater and some professional theaters. And my voice has sounded the exact same as it has since I played Annie. Like, it has not changed. So I always had a big, huge, giant belt voice, and it really has not changed at all.
Our school did Oliver last year.
Oh.
So we know that show too.
Yeah, I loved it. Were you boys?
I was the Artful Dodger.
Amazing.
I was Fagin.
Come on.
Yeah.
You guys have the 2 best roles.
It was very fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, wait, the touring company of Annie?
It was a tour, but it was coming through San Jose, which is like a little smaller city than San Francisco. And then, so yeah, I did Annie a bunch of places after that. And yeah, so that was it was like a big professional production with all these people that my parents knew, but I didn't know who they were, TV people. And I just remember my mom took me in, and I didn't have a resume or anything. And all these girls were so professional. And I just ended up staying for hours and hours. And I do remember my mom kept saying, like, don't be upset if you don't get it. Don't be upset. And I was like, it's fine. We got it. And then I ended up doing it. And then I just kind of never looked back. Yeah. And then did all my school shows too, because I still loved doing that too.
Yeah. I love how you didn't even you weren't stressed too much about it, and you were just chill about it. That's the right attitude.
Yeah, and I wasn't stressed because I had nothing to lose. I didn't know if I was even good at it or what. So I didn't stress. So I try not to stress now, but it's really hard. Getting older, you start stressing more. Yeah.
When you're younger, you're more chill.
Yeah.
Totally more chill. Yep.
So you do a lot of TV too. Do you think it's easier to pull off comedy on stage or on TV?
I think comedy, no matter where it is the hardest thing to do. I think drama's much easier. I think because I get to do a lot of dramas too, and I think that's much easier. Comedies, I really have to spend a lot of time figuring it out so that it's not too over the top, or just making sure that it's funny. So I think it's hard no matter where. Television is sometimes hard to do comedy because there often isn't an audience. So you don't know if it's funny or not until you see it and you go, yeah. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But yeah, I think comedy's hard no matter what. I think it's the hardest.
Yeah. And like when you're on TV, you don't like see the reactions of the people watching.
Yeah.
That's probably better.
Stressful. But
I mean,
also
It's stressful. And there are some things on TV that I've done where it is in front of an audience, and I like that the best because it feels like theater almost. But the rest of the time, oof, no reaction.
At least in theater, like usually the audience laughs and you have like the energy to do more comedy.
Or sometimes they don't.
Oh, with you they will.
Well, who knows?
So, we know a lot about Broadway, but we don't really know much about the West End because we live in New York, which is where you won an Olivier Award for Zorro. Very late. Congratulations. Sorry we weren't there.
Thank you so much.
That night,
yeah, we
but
weren't exactly.
I'm not even sure you were born.
I don't
Probably
know.
not.
I don't know, maybe.
But is there really much difference between Broadway and the West End?
We were not
No.
alive, by the way. We just got a little note.
Yeah.
We were not
Great,
alive.
not alive. Great. Doesn't make me feel old at all. There really isn't any difference, honestly. It's the same. I had done that before Broadway, so I didn't really know Broadway, but I will say this, like Broadway and West End, it's not that different from your school shows. It really is. I'm telling you, it's not. It just may have bigger sets or flashier costumes. It really isn't that. It feels the same. It feels exactly the same. Like the pressure is the same.
Really?
Yeah, I'm telling you, it feels exactly the same. There are going to be people that annoy you. There are going to be people that you love. It's like it's exactly the same. It just is a job, as an adult. But it feels no different than when I was doing shows in high school or before.
Yeah, that's so nice to think about.
It really doesn't.
I was basically on Broadway. I did a school show like 3 times.
Yeah.
I was on Broadway.
Literally, you might as well been. You could say you were.
Oh, yeah.
It
Yeah,
makes
easy.
no difference. So
Yeah, there
it
weren't
just
any
is a,
cuts or, but it was like basically Broadway. Like, God.
basically, yeah.
Yeah,
basically.
like same thing.
But it doesn't matter. It's why I always tell people, like, Broadway and West End is not the end all be all, like it's just as important. Your community theater show is just as important. And it is, because you're getting theater to people that are close to you. And that's the important thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, West End, no different. Except at intermission, they bring you cookies, biscuits. So that I really like.
Then.
Yeah.
The West
Then
End.
I think West End might be better.
The London.
Yeah, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody has a biscuit at intermission. I really liked that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
So the last time we saw you off Broadway, it was in Emojiland, which unfortunately shut down with everything else in March 2020. And I was really sad about it because we had just heard all about it at BroadwayCon, and I wanted to see it.
I know.
Was it as fun as it looked?
Yes. I loved that show. It was so fun. Those costumes and getting to have a giant pink ponytail was my favorite. I think my favorite look of all. I got to slide down a big pole and just getting to be princess. And I loved it. It's so funny and so happy and has such a great message. So I was really sad, as I'm sure everybody was, that had a show that closed. I was really bummed that it didn't come back, but I'm glad there's a recording, like an album. I'm glad there's that. But I was very sad because I loved it.
Well, Emojiland will live on.
It will live on.
It lives
It
on
will
in our
live
hearts.
on. Good. In mine too.
Princess is a bitch. So you don't wanna mess with princess. No, you don't wanna mess with me. No, oh, princess is a bitch.
So we also love that you are Mrs. Wormwood and Matilda. We've
Mhm.
both done the show. And of course, so many people now base their Mrs. Wormwoods off of yours. No pressure. But what's
No
it
pressure.
like getting to create a role, knowing it could live on for so long?
It's crazy. The first time I had done that was in the West End, and then I would see other countries do it and see like me like the Japanese version of me or the Russian version of me, which I loved. I thought it was so cool to see basically me, but different face. And so that was really cool. And that's the first time I actually went, oh wow, something that I maybe did as an ad lib or something will live on forever on recordings or the album. So with Mrs. Wormwood, it had already been done in London, but I had never seen what she did, and they wanted us to do our own version. And I actually don't like watching bootlegs or recordings of people doing things before I do them, because then you can't help but copy them in a way. So I don't like to, I like to just do my own thing. And if it's wrong, hopefully the director will tell me. But yeah, it's crazy. But I do love seeing everybody sends me their pictures of them playing Mrs. Wormwood, and I love it. It's the coolest, best thing. And people are doing their own versions of it. And yeah, they shouldn't copy me. They should do their own. They should do their own because it's super fun too. And she's not one thing. And maybe I wasn't the best at it. Somebody else might be better. You'll never know unless you do your own. What did you guys play? What did you play?
I was Bruce.
Love. Great. Love.
Yeah, I was Matilda. It was fun.
Did you get sick of the chocolate frosting? Chocolate cake?
Yes. I don't think I've had chocolate frosting since.
Probably not. They started with ours. There was a whole wall backstage that just had frosting, and they started trying to find different kinds of chocolate frosting, chocolate mint, chocolate pepper. It just was, but those Bruce's just, after a while, they thought it was really fun the first couple months, and then not so much.
Yeah, at our school we had a fake chocolate cake that had one big slice. Like, it was all a bunch of different slices, so I could like throw it into a bucket like underneath like the desk. And then our school does little previews for the shows, and we had our old principal wheel out the cake, and we had a little cup of frosting that was hidden, and he didn't know that it was hidden. So he was like saying, "I've got the cake," and then he held up the cup of frosting and dipped his finger in it for everybody to see, and ate the frosting. And
he didn't know what he was doing.
He didn't know what he was doing.
But we love Mr. Dunn.
We love him.
Mr. Dunn.
He didn't know. Yep, shout out. He didn't know.
It was so funny though.
I know.
And like some kids were backstage getting mad at him, and I was like,
Iconic.
It's fine, because it didn't affect them. If anybody, it affected me.
Yeah,
like, it's fine. It was so funny because he was just like, "I have the chocolate cake."
You're right. Iconic.
Being mean on stage is also really fun, especially when you get to be funny too. We were the stepsisters in Cinderella like a really, really long time ago.
We were like 7.
Yeah.
So long ago.
It was so much fun being bratty on stage. Are you extra nice to your castmates backstage to make up for it?
I like to think I am, but what they did was some of the Matildas were super young, like 8. And so they kind of had to remind them, like, your parents on stage aren't really mean in real life. And they got it. Everybody got it. They understood. But no, they know it's just an act. And a lot of times in the beginning, they're just laughing at us anyway until they can get it all out. And then they can act like they're upset. But no, I like to think I'm a nice person in real life and nothing like the people that I play. And I kind of think you can't play those people well if you are mean yourself, because I don't know. I think
because then you won't be funny. You'll just
be mean. Yeah. So I like to think that I was nice to them. But we didn't talk to the kids in the show about the show. We just had to talk to them about life and school and everything, because they didn't want us to only have the show in common with all the kids. We wanted to talk about like what you guys were doing outside of the theater, which is way more interesting.
A little less, a lot more zing. A little less, a lot more showing. A little less dressing like your mum. A little more ba-dum-bum-bum, ba-dum-bum.
A lot of your roles are also loud characters. I feel like we're stuck in a theme here. So how'd you make sure your voice stayed healthy?
It's hard. I'm very lucky. Like I said, I've had the same voice since I was your age, and it was always pretty loud and pretty belty, but I had to train it to make sure that it didn't go away. And with something like Matilda, we had voice coaches there. We had speech coaches and singing coaches, because obviously my song is loud and everything that she says is loud, but you have to be able to do it in a way that you can do it 8 times a week and not miss shows from hurting your voice. So they really taught me how to put it in a specific place that was almost like singing. My talking was almost like singing, almost like a mix built, if you will. And that really saved me, because I wasn't full on belting. I was kind of like in this mix world. That took a minute to get, but once I did, it was great. And then you just have to do the normal stuff. You just have to keep doing your exercises or your straw, whatever, or you just keep. The straw is great. The straw is great. I still do the straw. And have a steamer, or whatever you need to stay healthy. It's just that, and it's no different 8 times a week. But if you're singing a lot, like an Elphaba, you really have to be careful and in the off time too. But I was very lucky that we had great coaches to kind of figure out with me, and it's different for every show, figure out with me what will keep me healthy and what I could do off stage as well, so that I could still have a life and not have to be silent all day.
Oh yeah, but you probably couldn't go into like loud places or talk much like out loud.
No, and that's kind of part of it, but that's an okay trade-off if you're doing a show 8 times a week. You just have to be careful, but a lot of times you have to go to events for your show or that are very loud and have to talk to a lot of people about the show, and so you just have to really really watch it, and it's really just finds out what works for you, whether that's tea, water, whatever, steam, saline, straw, it doesn't matter. Just find out what works for you, and then just keep, you have to keep working on it as you go. You have to keep checking in, and I kept checking in with the coaches, and they really helped.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're also big BroadwayCon fans, and unfortunately we can't go anymore now that it's in the summer, because like I have vacation, she has camps. But we missed a pretty incredible Star Wars the Musical this year.
That was a while ago. That was it was a few years ago actually that we did it. It wasn't this year. This year was the first year I didn't go to BroadwayCon. I was there from day one, and the first BroadwayCon was during a blizzard, and so nobody could get out of the hotel or back in. So all of the performers, there were about 6 of us that lived close enough to where BroadwayCon was happening that we had to then do all the panels, make up stuff to talk about, and performances, because they just couldn't get a lot of the Broadway people in. Shows were canceled and things, but it was the most fun ever. And I think the second or third years is they asked me to do a show, so I decided to get all of my Broadway friends and do Star Wars the Musical, which had some pretty amazing people in it, and it was super fun and silly, and I love Star Wars, so of course I was gonna do it. Yeah, that was a good one. It was a good one.
How do you come up with something like that?
I don't know. I'm cuckoo crazy anyway. So
I feel you with that.
I knew that I wanted to do the Star Wars story, but put Broadway songs in it. Or like, funny like versions of Broadway songs. And I don't know. I just kind of just followed the Star Wars story, and some of the stuff was pretty evident, like things that I wanted to put in it. And we made it funny, and Ari DeBose, the bullet from Hamilton, blew up the Death Star, and James Iglehart was Vader's voice, and it was really really fun and super silly. So no, I don't know, I just came up with it, and I luckily had friends that said sure, why not.
That sounds awesome. Oh my god. So I have 2 questions actually. They're a little more serious and kind of go hand in hand. So what advice do you have for responding to criticism, and what would you say to a young person who's thinking of giving up auditioning?
The first one's really hard, the criticism. I don't know how you do it now with social media and TikTok and everything. I used to find it really hard. I don't read reviews anymore because it really upset me. So I found that not reading them was better for my head and my mental health. But the thing about the criticism and social media is everybody's going to have an opinion and they're going to want to say it on whatever platform. I'm not a big fan of bashing. I'm not a fan at all of bashing things on TikTok or on Instagram, especially if you're part of the business, if you're an actor as well and you go see a show that you don't like. I really don't need to hear why you didn't like it. Just say you didn't like it to your friends in private.
Yeah, you don't need the other people to know that, you didn't like. They're not gonna, change their performance because of you.
And that's the thing is you can't let it affect you. You can't let it change your performance. There's going to be the thing that I learned that helped me was there was always going to be somebody that doesn't like what you do. So take the pressure off. You're not going to please everybody. It's a reason why I think like people that go on TikTok and compare performances from bootlegs, I find it's like mean. And if there's enough mean in the world, I don't think it's good. So my first advice would be don't post any of that. But as far as responding to it, you can't respond to it. You can't. And I've done it sometimes and it never works out well. So you just have to know what you're doing and stay true to what you're doing because somebody is always going to have an opinion and there's nothing you can do about it. So you just need to kind of put blinders on and go forward. And it's tough. It's coming at you from everywhere. And you just have to try and block it out in order to do your job. And it's the hardest thing. It's really hard. But don't let it alter what you do or who you are because who cares? They don't matter.
Who cares? They don't matter.
Who cares? They don't matter. Yeah. Brush it off.
Yeah, they're not the people on Broadway.
No, and sometimes they are, and that doesn't even matter either,
Exactly, yeah.
It just doesn't matter, and I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt, because of course it does. Nobody likes to read something. In my cabaret shows, I read mean things people have said about me on the internet, and my friends have to find them for me because I don't want to look for them. And so they find the funny ones. But some of the things are so mean that people say, and I don't understand why. But that has nothing to do with you. You have to know that somebody's criticism of you has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, once people start receiving hate comments, that's when you know you've made it because you've been in the public eye enough that people start to recognize you.
And you've made enough of an impression, good or bad. So better than not making an impression.
Yeah, they care enough to say something.
They care enough to say something. And again, or they have the time to say something. You don't have the time. You don't have the time to listen. You're going forward. You're doing something else. Let them waste their time.
Yeah.
That's it. And as far as anybody thinking about giving up, if this is what you want to do and this makes you happy, don't give up. You find a way to keep going on and still pursuing this. Just make sure, I always say, don't make it your life. Have other things in your life that are important, family, friends, other hobbies, because your success doesn't define who you are. And I learned that just as I got old. It just doesn't mean, I don't know, success is different. I always thought that Broadway's the end all be all. It's not. If you just want to be an actor, maybe on the side, maybe you don't have to do it as a profession. You can do that. And it's just as important. So anybody that is thinking about giving up, I think if you truly in your heart could not do this, then don't give up. Just find another way to do it. And find another way to frame it. Be not everyone's going to be famous. Not everyone is going to be known I think it's normal. I think most of us think about giving up all the time. I think that's normal. Yeah. Totally normal.
So you always seem to have a lot in the works. You just did Guys and Dolls in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And a reading of the new musical Stage Mother. Are you working on anything else right now that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, I am I'm going to New York to do a workshop of something else that I can't really say what it is, but very exciting that could be coming next year. And then I'm giving you guys secrets that I don't even know I can say. And then I might be going to do a production of Little Shop of Horrors somewhere, like it's not in New York, but a different production, a different cool new version. I'm gonna be Audrey in that. And yeah, and then I'm
That's so cool.
just tons of stuff, lots of stuff of workshops really, and things that hopefully come in. That's the thing, like you workshop so much stuff and you hope that it comes in. So yeah, lots and lots of workshops and little shops. Yeah.
I'm starting Little Shop tonight, actually.
You're gonna love it.
I'm so excited.
Who are you playing?
I don't know yet. We
They don't tell
tonight
you?
is like learning audition material, and then we audition on Sunday, and then like cast list comes out after that. So
It'll be great. It'll be great. It'll be great. Yeah. See, this was a sign.
it was a sign.
The sign.
So we ask each of our guests to choose a charity, and our parents make a donation as a thank you for being on our show.
That's the nicest.
You picked the National Canine Cancer Foundation. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, my first dog, not the one that's sleeping next to me, my first dog, his name was Bob Barker, and he was 11 and and got cancer, and it was my first kind of dog on my own in adulthood. And I remember going to canine cancer centers and seeing dogs getting their chemotherapy, and as horrible as it is in people, it was just as horrible in animals. And so this foundation is really fantastic in research and helping people that maybe don't have the funds to keep their dogs around a little longer with some treatments and things. So they help people out with that. So it's a really, really fantastic organization that I love.
That's so wholesome, because people don't think about dogs having cancer. They just think about people, but dogs are people too.
Dogs are people too. And there was a dog, I remember taking my dog in to get his chemotherapy, and there was a dog and he was waiting for his treatment, and he had a little t-shirt and it said "Cancer Bites." And I thought that was...
My dog is looking so sad under the desk right now. So
we just, got to look after the fur babies as well. And it's a really great organization that is really like doing some great stuff.
So wholesome. We usually ask our guests for advice for kids who want to be on Broadway, but since we just started school and people are starting to talk about college and all of that, I'm curious, what advice do you have for students who are going through the audition process for college or are starting to think about it?
Okay, this may not be popular with all the parents, so tell your parents to cover their ears. I think
Dad, cover your ears.
I think it doesn't matter. This is my opinion. It doesn't matter where you go to school as long as you love where you're going. There are these, fancy musical theater programs, but you all end up in the exact same place. And yes, if you go to a fancy musical theater program, maybe you might have like, oh, this casting director went to that college. Maybe they'll call me in. I'm telling you, you all get dumped in the same place. And if you are right for the role, you're right for the role. It's not going to matter where you went to college.
Yes. They don't hire you based on your, where you went to college.
They do not. So I'm even a fan of, if you want to major in something else, even though you might want to try this after college, I think that's fantastic. I was a pre-law major because I already knew I wanted to do this. So why not learn about something else? And I still performed, but then again, you end up in the same place. So I tell kids that are preparing, don't get upset if you don't get your top schools. Again, find a city, a school that you love, because that is going to be your home, and that is going to be the most important is your happiness and your experience there, not the program. And personally, I remember when I was 16 and my parents were taking me around to colleges, I don't think I could have been okay in a competitive college or conservatory atmosphere. It just didn't work for me, and it kind of scared me, and wasn't for me. So again, I don't think it matters at all. It really doesn't.
Yeah, college is a time to like learn what you love.
Learn what you love and be in a cool place. You know, if you don't want to live in the freezing cold, don't go to NYU. You know, that was me. I wanted to stay in California, and then I learned the freezing cold, but it was okay. So yeah, I just tell like, don't stress. Don't stress. It doesn't mean your career is over if you don't get into one of the fancy schools.
Yeah, and like a school or a role that's like made for you, like won't pass you by. Like
No, what's for you, it's not going to pass you by. Not going to pass you by.
All right, so
we have a little lightning round.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a minute, but never is. Maybe like once.
Are you gonna time it again?
Yes, it's fun timing it.
Like
no
lightning.
pressure. No pressure though.
Of course, never. Okay.
Yeah, no.
So it starts now.
Okay.
What is your favorite emoji?
Princess.
What's your favorite Mrs. Wormwood line, and can we hear it really fast?
I look nice. You don't.
You can only keep one. Muppets or Star Wars? There's one correct answer.
Muppets.
Muppets Star Wars. The Muppets Star Wars.
The Muppets Star Wars. What in it? Yeah. The Muppets
Okay.
Star Wars. Yeah.
If you could gender flip any show, what would it be?
Oh, so many. I would really like to do 9 and gender flip it with me as the dude, as Guido. Guido.
How many dogs is too many dogs?
Never.
What one word best describes you?
Crazy?
So we're going to Disney in February. What is one thing that we cannot miss?
Are you going to land or world?
World!
Oh, okay. Oh, there's too much, guys. Okay, you cannot miss the safari in Animal Kingdom.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
got
Don't
it.
miss that. And then don't miss the live shows. Go see the live shows. As somebody who worked for Disney in their shows, those performers are amazing.
Got it.
Okay, we will. What are you gonna be for Halloween?
Gone. I'm going to be gone. And I don't even know what Stewie's going to be, which is a bummer. I'm really terrible this year. Oh.
We know you're Queen Leslie, but which 6th queen are you?
Oh. I'm Kay Howard.
Yes.
Makes sense with the pink ponytail.
It's the pink ponytail. Yeah, the pink ponytail.
What's the best tourist trap in New York?
Ooh, tourist trap. Ooh, I never did tourist trap. I like the Museum of Natural History. I like that.
Nice.
It's not really a tourist trap, but super fun.
Yeah. What's your favorite Nintendo Switch game?
Oh, Zelda. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite.
Cool.
But I also love Dreamlight Valley, Disney Dreamlight Valley. I love. Mm-hmm.
If you play any Disney character, who would you be other than a Muppet? Because that's the next question.
Roger Rabbit.
Okay, can we hear your Miss Piggy voice?
I don't have a good one. I could never.
Just try. And time.
'Cause I'm awesome.
Lesli Margherita, thank you so much for being on Two Kids and a Broadway Star. Broadway Star.
These are so amazing. I love that you do this, and I'm so happy I finally got to do it.
Princess is a bitch, yeah, I've heard it all before. I call them dictator haters, they come with
At Two Kids and a Broadway Star, it's really important to us that we support Broadway and the whole theater community.
That's why we ask all our guests to choose a charity and our parents make a donation as thank you for being on our show.
The episode supports the National Canine Cancer Foundation. We hope you'll consider making a donation of any size. You can find a link to donate in our show notes. Any amount counts.
Two Kids and a Broadway Star is me, Ellie.
And me, Haley.
We started this podcast as a way to stay connected to the theater community during the shutdown and beyond.
You can follow us on Instagram at 2KidsPod, and you can listen to all of our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at 2kidsbroadway.com. Please like and subscribe.
Thanks for listening.